indeed the master of ceremony. Good evening, everybody here present. My name is Baboucarr Busso. He did not make any mistake. And I am famously and literally called the icon of truth. Yeah, it is a pleasure to be here today, but I will not proceed in my speech without thanking Mr. Keba S. Juara, who is the Panachia poet, who has identified me to come here to serve as a speaker. Before I proceed, Mr. Keba, thank you very much indeed for the recognition, but I also came here to join the crusade in trying to immortalize or I joined the immortalization of the immortal poet. And this reminds me of what the proudest poet, that is Agostino Neto, who was the first president of Angola, said about immortality in poetry. He said, "We are living because we are living. That is, we will never die because we are living. We are living because we are the imperishable particles of Africa." And when I look at the title of the book, I've seen Africa, and I re-echo that particular voice of the immortal poet Agostino Neto, who freed Angola. I am also joining the immortalization of the immortal poet here, Hadibari. Thank you, my sister, for having authored this particular text. And when we move forward, I will speak on literature. My part is to speak on the power of expression in poetry, in general literature. I don't see separating poetry from any other genre in literature, because one time I tried and I read one line that says that separating poetry with prose is like separating snow from rain. And I did not persist in separating poetry from prose, because I know there is prose poetry, and we cannot separate snow from rain except if we call both precipitation. So today, I stand here to say that literature is important. Why? Because it is life. Without literature, we cannot live in any society, because literature mirrors the society in such a way that it binds its roots in tradition, culture, and history. And if you want to talk about people, you don't know their tradition, then you will not reach to their histories. So when we want to discuss literature today, we have to ensure that we give it life first. That is why when I teach literature, I tell my students that literature is what gives a soul a soul. A soul without a soul is dead. So essentially, every soul must have a soul. Do you agree? Every soul must have a soul. And if the soul of a soul is literature, therefore everybody must embrace literature. And this is why I am here. Thank you very much indeed. When we proceed, I will also proceed on my particular topic, that is the expression or the power of expression in poetry. When we look at different poets, they all have a purpose. And this is why Charles Dickens says, whenever I read a book and it cools my body, or I read a text and it cools my body so much that no fire can warm my body, then I know it is poetry. I will not define poetry for you. Dylan Thomas tells you that poetry is the spontaneous flow, overflow, in fact, of words. That is why he says, he told his father, "Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age to burn and rave at the close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light." And this is justified that it was the father, because in last stanza, a quatrain, he says, "And you, my father, there sitting on the sad height, or there on the sad height, God bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light." This is justified that it was the father. But I cannot also proceed on speaking about poetry, its power in expression, without rekindling the efforts of William Shakespeare in the Romeo and Juliet, to express an impossible love or the agony of impossible love. Maybe that is the title that is not yet written. Do you read Romeo and Juliet? Yes. Did you read Romeo and Juliet? All of you, please. Yes. He says, and I quote, he just a scars that never fell the wound but soft. What true light yonder window breaks. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. This beautifies the line. Juliet is the one of the most beautiful characters that Shakespeare has ever created. Romeo being so immature in dropping, of course, Rosaline has not, been in the position to abdicate her beauty. So therefore, he just a scars that never felt the wound came. But true light yonder window breaks. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Juliet being compared to a sun metaphorically emphasizes the beauty of poetry or beauty of literature. This is also being proven in the words of Robert Frost, who says, who looks at the woods and say, whose woods these are? I think I know. His house is in the village top. When he comes and say, or he again comes and say, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. That is why I have these promises to keep. When I was told the date of this book is going to be on the first it was on the 30th. I tested the other one and said, the date has changed. Said yes, a circumstance arises. Then I changed my fixture to be here today. And it is a pleasure to be identified as the guest speaker. And it is also a pleasure to come here and fulfill my promises. Just like Robert Frost said, the woods are lovely, dark and deep. And that is the power of poetry again, in that darkness and deepness. When I resign, I will ask this question that Chinua Achebe has, and I quote, he asked it in Igbo. I am not an Igbo man, but I will try the Igbo code as well. He says, because he said it and I heard it. If you are an Igbo, I am sorry if it is wrong. But for the linguist, it is, for whom it is well, for whom it is well, there is none for whom it is well. Shakespeare says this in quotation and says, all ends well that ends well. And again, this is why Tijan Salah writes and say, Europeans who have colonized us illegally have left us speaking in tongues in foreign lands. That is why I am speaking to you in English language. If it is not very clear to you, it is somebody who is being empowered to speak in that language. But I am saying that when Mugi responds to him and said, Tijan Salah said, the Europeans have left us speaking in tongues of foreign land. Mugi says, when the Europeans raped Africa, they left its bladder ruptured. So you will see the effect or the power of expression between lines, and if you see them only, you will understand that these are the same powers that almost Mosali uses to speak to South Africans and say, nightfall in South Africa comes like a dreaded disease, sweeping through the pores of a healthy body and ravaging it beyond repair. He calls nightfall in a very much strong voice, using apostrophe and saying that, nightfall, you are my mortal enemy. Why were you ever created? Why can't it be daytime and daytime forevermore? He hates nightfall because of its act, but nightfall is innocent in this intercourse, and you will understand why Wali Soyinka says tonight that your hands are heavy on my brow. In response to this, Lord Byron says, she walks in beauty like the night. This is a perfect contrast. So we cannot end the beauty of poetry because Nietzsche tells us poetry or beauty is truth and truth beauty. So poetry is elegant in itself, it is aesthetic, it is also enthusiastic in seeing a young person immersing herself in poetry and calling herself immortal. Yes, she is immortal today, and I have immortalized her by saying that we are living because we will not die. We are immortal, therefore. The poet. Thank you very much indeed. I think I have to resign here, and thank you everybody for listening to me.